Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about something a lot of people I think are struggling with, especially in today's day and age. Something that got me thinking. We always do our spring water check, and I'm out of this water. And I was going to go get some more out of the tap, but where I'm at, the tap water is really not the best. I know for me, it makes me feel kind of sick. And so I have this choice to either take what I know is bad for me or go down to my car where I know I have another package of spring water and bring it up. And I was thinking about this, how often do we do this in other areas of our life? This video is going to be about the danger of doing more. And I think that there's a limit to how much we're supposed to be doing and really how much we're supposed to be pushing. I've talked about this in other videos, but if you guys have thoughts about this, let me know below, because I think a lot of people are going to identify something today that's going to help them tremendously moving forward. And so if you can look at your life and pinpoint different areas where you think this is happening, I think you're going to be a lot better off, because a lot of us do struggle with this idea of do more. We're constantly bombarded in our day and age with doing more, right? We need to buy more. We need to eat more. We need to go out, do more. We need to consume, right? A lot of this world, guys, the root of all evil is the love of money, or the root of many evils is the love of money. And when you really look at it, everything kind of goes back to what we spend our money on in many ways. Because, guys, you can look, you can ask your friends, your family, you can pay attention to what's going on. And what it comes down to is the have and the have-nots in life. It comes down to the poor versus the rich. And this is really how it's always been since the beginning of time. If you believe in the Bible, if you look at, the Old Testament, you look at Proverbs, you look at how there's a lot of talk about the rich and the poor. And in the New Testament, there's this talk of the rich and the poor, the people who have money and the people who don't. And oftentimes, people who have a lot of money become heartless. They don't have compassion. They don't have mercy. They don't have godly virtues, because they use their wealth as a strong shield. They rely on their wealth. They trust in their wealth. And a lot of people become very prideful. A lot of Christians out there think you can't have money. You can't be wealthy. You need to be poor and miserable. That's not the truth. The truth is, though, that many people end up relying, trusting in their money, and they forget about God. And you can apply this to anything else, right? A lot of people in life are obsessed with fitness, right? It's everywhere you look. Everyone's talking about being fit, and we never ask ourselves, or a few of us do, what's good for me, right? What's good for me and my body? What's good for my life? I'll just give you guys an example. There was a long time in my life where I wanted to be a bodybuilder. And I got a coach for about 3 months, and I was following everything. And I got to a point where I was just burned out, right? I couldn't keep up, and I was feeling off. My whole body, everything was just off. And I realized for me, that way of working out was not sustainable. It wasn't the right way to go about things for me, right? And a lot of guys out there, they see the social media images, they see the media, they see all these things, and they think they have to be this person. They think they have to have this image. And I think it's leading a lot of men down a very dark path in life. Because I can tell you straight up, guys, when I was 50 pounds lighter, this was back when I was 16, 17, over a decade ago, I felt in a lot of ways more confident and upbeat than some of the recent things that I've gone through when it comes to like self-image. It's never going to be enough, right? You think you're going to hit this certain weight, you're going to be happy. You think you're going to hit this certain amount in your bank account, and you're going to be happy. You think you're going to have this food or enough clothes or enough whatever. It's never going to make you happy. A lot of it's just a lie, guys. People call it the Matrix. I think it's this. I think it's close. I think that there is a deception. I think that there is truly a spiritual war being waged, a deception. And there's people who are more sensitive to it, And I believe the only way to become more sensitive to it is to cut off your earthly, not desires so much, but your earthly sins, right? The things that are not good for you. Because to the person who knows the right thing and doesn't do it, to him it's sin, right? And I think that's a very powerful verse because it talks about somebody who knows the right thing and doesn't do it. And I think a lot of people, when they look at the gospel, they tend to get stuck on certain parts. And one thing we ignore is where Jesus talks about, hey, I'm going after your heart. And he's constantly going after people's hearts. He's constantly like reading people's minds. And that's the reason people hated him so much, is because he was calling them out in their heart, in their soul. And you either serve good, you serve God, or you serve the devil, you serve evil. And a lot of things that we do to ourselves, guys, is just evil. And there's this tendency, this danger of doing more that we fall into, where we think if we just, going back to the bodybuilding thing, if I just eat more and work out more, then I will be bigger, I'll be happier. I'm not saying some people that's not what they should be doing, because some people God's called them to do that, and that's just how they're built. But think about the different things in your life where you try it, you really try, you really give it your all, you really do something, and it's not working, right? Or something's not good for you, but you keep doing it. You can apply this to music, right? You know that there's music you're listening to from your favorite artist that you really shouldn't be listening to because it's influencing you. It's putting these images, these thoughts, these things in your head. And I struggle with this too, guys, where this is not good for me. It's different if I really do believe it's different if you're doing something and you don't realize it's like bad for you up until you do. Because at that point, it's just kind of like, okay, I don't really know. But there's this idea that as humans, as people, we tend to be very, ignorance is one thing, but arrogance is definitely another. And arrogance is knowing, okay, I should be doing this or I shouldn't be doing this, and doing the opposite. And I think if we take this mentality of doing the right thing for us, I think we're going to go very, very far in life. I think to anybody watching this video today who's struggling with this idea, they find themselves trapped, they find themselves in this rut, they find themselves in this predicament of, I just got to do more. Sometimes you got to take a step back, guys, and I'm going to apply this going back to food, for instance, like fasting. A lot of people think fasting is like this super religious thing that you do because you want to get really close to God, and that's part of it. That's definitely part of it. However, some practical things you got to realize, like when it comes to fast, like what is a fast, right? It's like you're going without, right? You're purposely cutting something off, and especially in the West where we tend to eat from sun up till sundown. A lot of this is just self-discipline, right? Oftentimes, I'll just give you guys an example, right? If I find myself obsessing over food, right? Because I've always been into fitness and nutrition. If I find myself obsessing over food and guys, this is true, right? You might struggle with this. If you do, let me know below. Could be something similar. But you find yourself just obsessing over your macros, your protein counts, what you're eating. Is it good quality? Is it high quality? I need to eat first thing because I'm not going to feel energized for my workout. And if I don't eat right after my workout, when I start doing that, it does something to my mentality, my mental state. And for me, I know that when that starts to happen, I start to spin out of control and I get very anxious. It's the little things, guys. You don't even realize it until it starts to happen. And then I realize, okay, wait, I'm letting food become my idol. I'm obsessing over food. I'm revolving my whole life around food, over when I'm hungry, when I'm not hungry, when I'm energized, when I'm not. Food is not that important, right? Jesus said that man shall not live on bread alone, but from every word that comes from the word of God, right? The word of God gives us life. And when he fasted in the wilderness, guys, I believe it was 40 days, 40 nights. A lot of people are like, oh my goodness, like that's impossible. But you see a lot of people who, when they go on fasts, right, There's a right way to do it. Usually you got to ease into it over time. But a lot of it is prayer. A lot of it is spirit focused. And I notice for myself when I fast, if I just fast for physical purposes, I'm not going to do that great. But if I fast and I'm focusing on spiritual things and I'm praying, I'm seeking the Lord, usually there's a reset that needs to occur. My priorities aren't right. And so the fasting is sort of the discipline thing where I don't need to eat as much as I think I do, right? You don't need to eat as much as you think you do. And we become obsessed with food, right? Most people like to eat because it tastes good. Eating makes you feel good. These are not bad things. When you become, you don't even have to become fat, I believe, to be a glutton. It's when you start to obsess over these things. You can do this for anything else in life, right? Alcohol, not a bad thing. Overindulgence, reliance, crafting your life around it, bad thing. Music, you shouldn't be listening to certain things and you do. It's influencing you. It's making you think lustful thoughts, hateful thoughts, murderous thoughts, envious thoughts. Probably shouldn't listen to it. You are obsessing over money, right? This is a big one. Money's a big one, especially these days. Why do you need so much money? Like, think about it. Why do you need so much money? What are you spending your money on? A lot of us are spending our money on things we don't even need. We feel, or maybe subconsciously, we feel like we have to buy these clothes and we have to go to these places and do these things. And all of a sudden we don't have this money. Cut down and focus more on the quality, guys. Doing more isn't always good, right? Eating more, doing more. Focus on what you're eating, right? Focus on the quality of what you're eating. This calories in, calories out stuff, guys, I'm going to be real with you. I really don't think it's super important if you're focusing on quality foods. Money, this is another big one. There was a time in my life I was making a lot of money and I was spending it wastefully. I was living a wasteful lifestyle. It was never enough. And I thought if I just had more money, I'd be happier, but I wasn't. And then I ended up in a position where I was making less money and I was able to do more with it because my mind was different, right? This is the wisdom of God. God gives you this wisdom to see what you need and what you can go without, what you're focusing your time and energy on, right? Are you focusing on things that are useless, that are pointless, that are not going to give you long-term spiritual growth? Or are you focusing on the short-term, gotta have it, gotta feel good, gotta look good? I think this is gonna satisfy me right now because, guys, that's the way the world lives. There's a reason why most people aren't happy. There's a reason why most people are obsessing over worldly things. But it's no coincidence that if you focus on God, you focus on His provision, you focus on the wisdom of God that He gives you, you're happy with much less, and you're happy with the things that you need. You're content. You actually find a joy. And that's where this danger of do more, of have more, of more comes from, is this idea that if you just have more, it's really, it's coveting, and it's so many of the other commandments, right? Idolizing, adultery, lust. It's not honoring your father and mother because, let's face it, most fathers and mothers want what's best for their children. And oftentimes as children, you want more, right? You think if you have more, you have this thing, you do that, you do this, you're going to be happier, but you're not, right? Idolatry is like putting something above God. It's obsessing over it. And sometimes we don't even think about it until it's too late, until we're spun out of control. So guys, hopefully this gives you something to think about, because if you are in this boat, let me know what you're struggling with. I'd love to help you out. I'd love to talk about it. If you have a video idea, you want me to go deeper into something, let me know, because this is something that I felt was pressed upon my heart, because it's something that I struggle with, and I'm just a man, and we're all in this together. We're all made in the image of God. And I want to be here to encourage you and lift you up, to let you know that it's okay, especially when you fall, but that we need to get back up, that we need to be righteous warriors, that we need to look to God. We need to put God first, because when we don't, everything is off. Everything is completely out of order. It's no coincidence when you take away God from society and culture, things fall apart. People are unhappy. People are at an all-time depressed high. People are at an all-time, marriages are failing left and right. Families are falling apart. People don't know how to manage finances. Guys, our health is out of control, right? We've put our faith, we've put our hope, we've put our confidence in these things that just aren't going to make us happy. So take a time out, take a breath, realize what it is you need, what it is you need to focus on, what it is you need to fast from, what it is you need to cut out. Guys, ask for the wisdom of God and everything will be clear. So guys, thank you so much. And Lord willing, I'll see y'all in the next one.